So hello students, good day. So today we will be tackling about the choral speaking, or shall we say the lesson 10, choral speaking or reading. So since the last time we tackled about the lesson 9, which is about the poem and poetry. So I just want to ask some students to answer this one. Since we already tackled this, so I just want um, to hear your opinions. I want to call Paul. Can you answer this one? What is, for you, in your own opinion, what is poem, or shall we say poem? It's in your own opinion, so there is no wrong answers here.
Poem is a piece of writing.
Okay, so it's a piece of writing. Yes. How about the poetry? How about poetry? Who wants to answer? Who wants to share their opinion? I just can you answer it, Jomar? Since you are one of the participative students when we tackle this one.
Literary works in which special intensity is given to the expression of feelings and idea by the use of distinctive style and rhythm.
Okay, so distinctive style and rhythm. Okay, so that is correct. So thank you for sharing your thoughts. So now we will going to start our lesson or topic. So let me share my screen first. Wait for a while. Okay, so I just want to ask if, do you see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so now let's go to lesson 10, which is the choral speaking or reading. So before we proceed to our lesson, I will going to share to you the objectives that we will going to have today. So first, we will going to define the meaning, the history, and the uses of choral speaking or reading. And also, I will going to share the importance of choral speaking or reading. And the last one is we will going to describe, or I will going to describe to you the steps in choral speaking. So now let's proceed to the next one. Okay. So first one is, what is choral speaking or reading? Who wants to read? Can you read this one for me, please?
Yeah.
Okay, can you read it for me? Okay, Paul. Paul is raising his hand. Okay, can you read it for me, please? What is choral speaking or reading?
Choral speaking or reading. Choral reading or speaking is the interpretation of poetry by several voices speaking as one. It is the group interpretation of poetry for the purpose of sharing enjoyment and increasing enjoyment of it. Choral reading involves the use of a book or script. An example of a choral speaking is a group of drama students reading and performing Edgar Allan Poe's Masque, Masque
Mosque?
of the Red Mask of the
Mask.
Reading Death, Red Death, recitation of poetry, dramatic pieces, etc. by a chorus of speakers.
Okay, so when you say choral speaking in the other term, it is defined as a group of people narrating a poem or a dramatic piece, as what you've read. Okay, it is defined as a group. Have you tried to enter or have a play in your school when you were in elementary or in high school, like that? So the one who narrates the story, there are, for example, a group of men or women who will going to narrate, or what do you call this one, um, who will going to speak as one, like that. um, They also, for example, they were going to sing a song like that. There are different types of choral speaking and reading. So an example of that is the recitation of poetry, the dramatic pieces, etc. by chorus of speakers. When you say chorus of speakers, it means that it's group. It means that group of speakers.
Choir.
Choir. Yes, okay. So now let's proceed to the next one. So let's have the history of choral speaking. What is the history of choral speaking? So choral speaking is not a recent development. Okay, so the Hebrew had the antiphonal chorus and chanting of prayers or hymn, alternately by two groups or by a leader in a choir, which gave the responses. So in the Greek dramas, a chorus recites the main action of the play to hold the plot together. So in England, France, and Germany, the troubadours chanted and recited tales of heroic deeds in verse, and their audiences must have joined in reciting refrains. So without being aware of it, many of us in the Philippines and even our ancestors have participated in choral speaking in church and at home, especially in reciting the prayers and the rosary. So it originated from the Greek chorus, part ancient Greek theater, where a group of masked performers who looked alike and all wore identical masks would speak as chorus, or shall we say, as what I've said, it's group. Okay, so chorus means group of people, like that. So let's proceed to the next one. Okay, so how about the uses of choral speaking? Can you read this one, the first paragraph? Who wants to read? Can you read this one for me, Jomar? Can you read this one? Okay.
Choral speaking can be used in school at all levels. It is an activity that children and adults of any age can enjoy. For children of preschool and kindergarten level, the mother goes rhythms,
Rhymes.
nonsense, verse and jingles with a very marked rhythm can be used. Children in the elementary grades would enjoy poems with narratives interest, vivid imagery and strong
Imagery.
rhythm, while while elder children would prepare poems they could interrupt with feelings.
Interpret with feelings. Okay, so as what you said, the use of choral speaking is activity for children and adults of any age that can enjoy. It gives an enjoyment to us. Okay, for example, for children or preschool or kindergarten level, one of the um, is that the Mother Goose rhymes, the songs that very popular today. Um, we have still the Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, the um, Humpty Dumpty. There are lots of Mother Goose rhymes. And also nonsense verses and jingles with very marked rhythm can be used. And also, children in elementary grades would enjoy poems with narrative interests, vivid imagery, and strong rhythm, while elder children would prefer poems they could interpret with feelings. Okay, so um, for you guys, for you students, what is the purpose or the benefits or importance of choral speaking? Can you share your opinion for that one? Or is it helpful? What is the importance or the benefits that we get in choral speaking? Can you share your thoughts or your opinions? It's still an opinionated question, so there is no wrong answers here. I just want to share your idea. I just want to hear rather. Just want to hear your ideas. Wants to share? None? Okay, so maybe none. So now, for me, it helps um, it helps the students to build fluency, self-confidence, and motivation. Because, why? Because students are reading aloud together. Students who may ordinarily feel conscious or nervous about reading aloud have built-in support. Yes, because have you noticed that if you will going to call one student and then that one student will feel like nervous, they will going to, and then they will not read it properly because they feel conscious or nervous about that one. So if we will going to have it in group, then this it builds self-confidence to them and motivation. Because in reading with group or in reading aloud, we will going to build in the support system. Okay? Do you understand what I'm saying? Do you understand my thought?
Yes, Miss. Yes.
Okay. So, and also poems suitable for choral speakings are poems which are universal in tone. When you say tone, tone is a use of pitch in language to distinguish lexical or grammatical meaning. So when you say lexical, the distinctive pitch level carried by the syllables of a word, which is an essential feature of meaning of that word. Okay, so second one, poems with vary in mood, content, and type. Poems that are lyrical in narrative. When you say lyrical again, in short, highly musical verse that conveys powerful feelings. So the songs like that, the rhythm like that. So poems that are rich in auditory image, poems that or poems with marked rhythm, and poems that can be used with three voices. Okay, so now let's proceed to the next one. Types of choral speaking enrichment. So there are four basic types of that one. So let's have first the number one, which is the refrain. Can you read it for me, Jen? The refrain.
Yes. As a
Can you read for me the refrain?
refrain, okay. This type used when the poetry which contains lines or verses are repeated. Originally, such poems are recited with the verses and the audiences reciting the refrains and choruses. The narrative can be recited by a solo voice or a smaller group of voices, and the entire group responds by giving their prayer. Ballads are suitable for this type of arrangement. It is good for the beginners.
Okay, so thank you for that. So refrain, it is one of the most common forms of oral speaking. So one person reads the narrative portion of the text while the rest of the class joins in the refrain. Like that. So examples of refrain is that the solo voice, for example, the turtle and the flamingo. So the one person will going to read this one, and then in the refrain, the group of people, all, or the shall we say all, will going to read the next one. So a lively young turtle lived down by the banks of a dark rolling stream called the Jingo. One summer day, as he went out to play, fell in love with a charming flamingo. Like that. And then all or chorus, an enormous a gentle flamingo, an expensively crimson flamingo, a beautiful bouncing flamingo, like that. So all will going to read that one, and then the first one will going to read the solo. Solo, since from the word solo, it means one. Okay, so that is refrain. Now let's proceed to the next one. Okay, the number two is sequence. Can you read this one, the sequence? Can you read it for me, John Michael? The number 2, the sequence.
Sequence. This type of this type is best employed in poems which develop into a strong climax, or which two lines are cumulative is response. The solo voices and the semi-choruses takes turns saying that the lines, and the entire chorus enters to build a climax and impressive finale.
Okay, so thank you. So the example of that one is the house. This is the house that Jack built. Do you know this song? It is one of the Mother Goose rhyme song. Do you know this one? The lyrics of that one is, "This is the house that Jack built," like that. I will not say the whole song because I'm not with my voice. Okay, so now let's proceed to the next one. Okay, how about number 3? Can you read it for me again, Paul? Can you read
Saan basa?
number 3? Can you read number 3 for me?
Sige. Antiphonal. The antiphon is a traditional form
Antiphone?
of a
It's antiphone.
Antiphon.
Yes.
The antiphon is a tradition form of reciting biblical verses. Thus, many of the psalms, such as the Lord Psalms,
Yes.
Psalms such as "The Lord is my shepherd," and passages like the Beatitudes are best interpreted by using the antiphonal or two-part response. In this type of arrangement, one group responds to another, boy to girls, children in one row to another, children with light voices to another group with dark voices, or children with high voices to another group with low voices. This is the most dramatic arrangement because it makes use of contrasting voices. Contrasting voices. It is good for poems which have questions and answers.
Okay, so antiphon calls for the class to be divided into two or more groups, with each group being responsible for a certain part of the selection. So as what you've read, it's about reciting biblical verses. So the examples of that one is the Psalms, or the verses that we will going to see in the Bible. The Lord is my shepherd, like that. So these are the examples of antiphon or antiphonal. Okay, so how about the next one? How about number 4, the unison? The unison wants to answer. Okay, so maybe I will going to read it. So unison is a poems expressing strong and powerful emotions are best interpreted by the whole speaking group rather than by part grouping or the semi-chorus, semi-choruses. I can't choruses. So this is the most difficult type since it requires the ability to speak together at the same time with perfect timing, proper control, and volume of voice. So that is unison. It calls for the whole group, okay, to read the material together. When you say unison, we will going to read it all like that. So we will going to the whole group will going to read the material or the script. So that is the unison. So number 5 is line a child. Each line of a poem is read by a different child. That's what we call line child because we will going to give each child a line. So each line, they will going to read it one by one like that. Okay, so that is line a child. From its from its name, line a child. So now let's proceed to kinds of voices or semi-choruses. How about this one? Who wants to answer? Who wants to read rather? So sorry. Light or high voices? Can you read it for me, Jomar? Jomar is very quiet today.
Light or high voices for reading or saying lines that suggest fun, happiness, brightness, for asking question unless a male asks the question.
Okay, how about the dark or low voices?
Ako gyapon?
Yes, you may or you will.
Dark or low voices for saying lines that suggest mystery, story, sadness, solemnity, for answering question unless a female answer the question. Medium voices for blending or all voices for relating the narrative, for introducing the character and for giving explanation.
Okay, so that are the kinds of voices or semi-choruses. So light or high voices, it is suggest fun, happiness, or brightness, like that, since it's about light or high. Now the dark or low voices, it's about the mystery, or the terror, sadness, or agony, like that, or solemnity. So that is dark. It means sorrow. Okay. How about the medium voices or medium voices? It is relating to narrative for introducing the characters and for giving explanation. Okay. So now let's proceed to number 10, the slides. So maybe I think this is the last part of our presentation today. So let's have the steps in choral speaking. What is the step 1 in choral speaking? What's the step 1 in choral speaking? Wants to read this one? None?
Ano?
Can you read the step 1 in choral speaking? Or can you read the steps rather in choral speaking?
Ako ibasa ko. Steps in choral speaking.
Why are you laughing?
Read the poems selected from its content. The teacher or conductor reads the poem to the class or group. If copies of the poems can be finished to the group, they can follow teacher's reading and they can concentrate on the content of the poem. Determine the type and the mood of the poem. The mood of the poem will determine the kind of voices or semi-choruses to be used. Understanding the meaning of the poem, the meaning of every new word or phrase, especially words of unfamiliar or strange significance. Know the know know the rhythmical nature of the poem, the tempo of movement in the poem.
Okay, so thank you for reading. So the steps, read the poem selected from its content, determine the type and the mode of the poem, and understand the meaning of it, and then and also the meaning of every new word that you've encountered, and then know the rhythmical nature of poem, the tempo and the movement in the poem. How about this one? Read, okay, I will going to read this one. Read the poem with the children. Spot pronunciation faults. After pointing out pronunciation faults, show how diction can be improved. Repeat the selection together. Try several interpretations in order to decide on the best arrangement. Apportion the parts and lines to the children. Let them say the poem without your help. And make sure that the voices blend properly to see to it that no one voice could be heard about the others or trailing behind the others. And also avoid sing-song recitation. So I think this is the end of our lesson for today. So before we end our lesson, okay, let me stop my share screen first. Okay, so that's the end of our lesson. So I just want to ask you guys, what have you learned? What have you learned out from the discussions that we tackled today, out from the lessons that I've given to you or I shared to you today? What is your what do you call this one? Lessons that you've get.
Kanang ang PD ang sa tao nga ang point PD siya nga in group na which is nga nindot paminaw if na ay mga high voices, low voices, and mid voices. Nindot paminaw ang pag ang the way mo speech if naa na sila ba.
Okay. So you said that if you were going to read or speak the poem, it's very enjoyment that, or it gives enjoyment if you will read it by group. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay, so that is the oral speaking or reading. Okay, how about the others? None? Okay, so maybe, okay, Jomar. Jomar is unmuting his mic. Okay, now what is your learnings today, Jomar? What's your learnings today? Can you share it?
Nag-appreciate siya no, ano yung tawagan eh?
What?
Communication.
Communication in what way?
To the
Can
teacher.
Can you cite an example? Can you cite? Can you cite or give an example?
Kaya example kanang naa ka sa group, dapat di ka mauwaw daw. Yun lang. Thank you.
Okay, so you said that, for example, you're in a group and then you will going to read the poem or the script in group. It will going to build the confidence of the students, the motivation. Am I support? Because am I support? Am I correct? Because we will going to if we will going to read it aloud, then we will going to build it in support system of the student. They will. Am I correct, Jomar? Is that what you mean?
Yes, ma'am.
That's what you mean? Okay. So thank you for that one. So thank you for today. I appreciate you guys. So thank you for attending the class. So have a great day. Let's call it a day. So thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, ma'am. Wala na isunod, ma'am.